What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's Analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR today and going over some indicators along with Bitcoin. When you take a look here, you can see that we've been struggling with this region that we spoke about. It's definitely giving us some trouble, as we said it could potentially do. When you pull it down here, this Fibonacci to the downside, right here in this golden zone, this is a bearish move from this point on here, getting that retrace to continue on down. I'm not saying that we're going lower, but I was saying that this is a key level of resistance that we're going to have to break to finally get a move up. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening. Bitcoin fell today, but MSTR fell even harder than it should have. And we'll go over that in the MSTR divided by Bitcoin. But yeah, this is definitely giving us trouble. We were hoping that we would blast through it, as we looked like we were getting ready to, especially after this close here on Tuesday. Very bullish at the top of the golden zone, and we just fell right back down. We did manage to close this gap, which is a good sign. We want to see that. That was something I was wondering too, if we were going to just take off and leave this gap behind and maybe fill it later on, maybe in the bear market or something, or if we were going to fill it now and then, move up higher. So maybe that's the plan. We'll see what happens though. Overall, things are looking good though. Along the way, you're going to have your red candles. Granted, we only had 2 in this 11-week period. And here we only had 1 in a 7 or 8-week period. But it's still extremely bullish. Hopefully this turns into a green candle, or we just get a very strong push up and this turns into a nice little wick, and then maybe we get the body of the candle up here. But it's red, but it's still like a bullish sign. Something like this, that would be a good sign, I think, for the following week coming up. I did think we would move a little bit in the bullish direction after the CPI print, but it looks like that's not the case right now. So when we take a look here on the weekly SMAs, we have this 20-week starting to curl back up, super bullish. We definitely want to see that. On the daily, we are approaching the 20-day now, so that's going to be very bullish for price as well. We have our 20 crossing our 50, extremely bullish, and it's approaching this 20. So maybe we touch it, or we just start to rally and the 20 will try and catch up and support price underneath it. On the 4-hour, we did fall underneath our 20 moving average. So we wicked off of it, and then we actually got to close. So we want to reclaim that and push up higher. And on the 1 hour, we just hit a nice little bearish move. We have a little double top here, and you can see the fall underneath the 20 and the 50. Extremely bearish on the 1 hour. So we fell underneath, closed, retested, and pushed down. But granted, this is a small time frame, so it's not a big deal. It's honestly probably a healthy pullback. If we really want to see higher prices, you need these pullbacks in between. So I don't think it's too much to be worried about. On the monthly RSI, we are still making our way up, and we did close above this yellow moving average. So let's see if we can continue up higher and make it to the 70 region and get some nice green shaded areas for a nice extended move. On the weekly, we were pushing up to the 70, and now we're getting a little pullback, but that could be a very healthy pullback to allow price to continue up higher. It's kind of giving price a little bit of a breather so it can extend for a higher leg up. On the daily, we are looking a little bearish here, as it looks like we got a head and shoulders. If you take a look here, you can see it pretty clear, very clear actually. You can see that playing out the shoulder. We got the head and the other shoulder. Then if you had the measured target, you'd go from here to here, and you measure that out, and we're about where the measured target would take us. So maybe we turn around from here. Granted, this is just a rough estimate. This thing can go much lower. It could rip back around. I really don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I wish I did. Things are looking good though overall. On the weekly MACD, we're looking very good. We got our cross, which we spoke about prior, and now volume's kind of stagnant. It's going up a little bit, but it's practically sideways, nothing much. But we have seen that prior when we did get our initial cross. Volume wasn't really kicking up until we got this large push up higher. So we're still in the beginning stages. I don't think there's much to be worried about yet. Here on the daily, volume is decreasing, which we don't want to see, but we could also start ramping back up. So we don't want this to flip bearish, but if it does, it won't be the end of the world. Maybe we just get a bounce off of this orange moving average and it pushes the MACD back up higher. We still look like we're on track to hit this target up here. I don't think much has changed. If you were to measure these out, you get something like that. We're still practically right on target. That's if we got a nice exponential move to the top. And I would imagine that that is exactly how it would happen. As you can see, things in this leg here, the candles were still kind of creeping. So it was kind of stair-stepping up exactly how we're doing, and then it kind of just blasted off the last 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. So if we were to get a move up here by, June, July, something like that, then I would imagine this is how it's going to play out, and we probably wouldn't get the big push until mid to late June, early July, something like that. When you get the large move on MSTR, it's going to happen very quick, and that brings me to the MSTR divided by Bitcoin. Today was not the day that we wanted to see on MSTR divided by Bitcoin. As we just spoke about, getting those large moves to the upside, you'll see large green candles pushing up here on MSTR divided by Bitcoin. But here, MSTR severely underperformed Bitcoin today. It was negative 4%. We started off, at 4.1, and now we're down to 3.8. So, and if you actually take a look at the ballistic model too, you can see how undervalued we are in terms of where the price should be. So it's a total of 8%. I think we were sitting around negative undervalued by 3% for a decent amount of time, and now we got that move to the 8% region. But MSTR will catch up when we start taking off. That's when it'll start to catch up. We have still been seeing bearishness in the Tether Dominance. As you can see here, we have this nice level here, and hopefully the bearishness will continue. We are pushing back up, maybe retesting this level and continuing down. If we do break the 445 level, we could go much lower. As you can see here, I'll draw out this level. You have this region here. If we were to fall underneath here, we could make it down to 4.2, maybe even the teens, 4.15, 4.13, something around there. It depends on how much momentum we have pushing through. Overall, it is looking good. And as this decreases, Bitcoin will increase. Another thing that we'd like to see decrease, but in a good way, would be here on Bitcoin dominance. We would like to see a move down here to this red line. Ideally, that would work out perfect. And if you see here, you can see that once we made it to this 45% region on this large red candle, that was, peak bull run for 2017, around that time period. And you can see it here again in that 2021 mania phase as this fell. So this shows Bitcoin's dominance versus the other coins, altcoins. So as this drops, it goes to show that the altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin, which is essential for the major mania phases, because that's what brings all the retail investors and new investors that haven't been looking at any kind of crypto related assets for an extended period of time. So it would open up a lot of new wallets and bring in a lot of cash flow. into the market, a lot of liquidity. So this is what we want to see. But remember, Bitcoin can still increase as this is dropping. Bitcoin can also increase as this is going up. Just how we've seen here. Bitcoin has been going up on the dominance, but Bitcoin's price has been increasing. But Bitcoin's price can still increase as this drops as well, because all it means is that altcoins, let's say they go up 200%, Bitcoin's only going up 100%. And this will just drop. That has to do with the dominance. So ideally, we'd like to see that drop here to about this region, and that would potentially be around the time where we would have a potential top. So it's another indicator or chart that we'd be looking at when we're looking for the tops in this upcoming cycle. And here's another important one, ETH divided by Bitcoin. As you can see here, this is pretty much how you know if alt season's starting or not. This is how we knew alt season was starting last time. You need QE to begin for this to actually start ramping up. So this has been QT this entire time. That's why there has been no alt season yet. And if they start QE, this thing can rally tremendously. So we are finally seeing ETH start to outperform, but let's see if it turns out to be a, just a little dead cat bounce, or if this is actually the real move. So you have two different trend lines here, a very steep one and then the less steep trend line here. So we have to see how it plays out. Hopefully we can see something like this on ETH divided by Bitcoin, and then break out higher and eventually break out completely of the primary trend line. We'll see where things go. Ideally, we want to see this ramp up, because if this ramps up, this shows the alt season is beginning, and that's when the mania phase happens, and that's where everybody makes money. Bitcoin will still be going up. It won't be outperforming altcoins how it has been recently, which also would drop the Bitcoin dominance. And then when we take a look here at Bitcoin, we talked about this the other day, about the top here, the bottom, the top, the bottom, potentially a top up here, and the bottom if this were to continue playing out how it has been. And here on global liquidity, we're about 36 days out now currently. 36 days takes us in this ballpark. It looks like this could potentially be where we're at in this region. Doesn't have to be exact. We could be off by a couple days. If we were to follow this to the T, that means we would be having a pullback. Who knows? Maybe this was the pullback. I don't know. But it looks like a large leg should be coming up relatively soon. You're talking about, like, if we're right here exactly at this point, maybe 7 to 9 days is what this is saying. I'm not saying that that's going to happen for sure. I have no crystal ball, so I don't know what's going to happen. That's if we continue to follow global liquidity, how we have been. We could get a large move up. So if we were to just look at this leg here, if we were to say that these two legs here, like these 3 daily candles were this move here. I'm not sure if this is the case. This is just hypothetical, right? So we'll say that these 3 days line up with this move here. I just put it verticals to make it easier to see. We're just going to see like what could we actually make percentage wise on this next leg up. That leg was a 13% move, and this is roughly like 70% of this, or maybe 60% of this move. So maybe we end up doing 20 to 25%, give or take, always plus or minus, because things vary all the time. But yeah, let's see, because that would take us all the way up here. So maybe the next leg is a 20-25% move. And if we took that from the bottom like we just did, maybe we go from here if we've seen this most local bottom, 20% would take you here to 120, 25% would take you to, 126. Just a rough estimate. It's probably going to be wrong, but it's just something to look at. And then it's saying another pullback, a large leg up, similar to this one, and then another one up, and a nice sideways trending action right there. When we look here at the fibs, you can see, taking this flagpole into consideration, pulling from the top to the bottom, we had a stop here at the 1618. So what if we line up here and we pull it for this flagpole here? That lines up around the 1618, which would give you about 146. So what if that's our next stopping point? What if what we see here on global liquidity, maybe that move, that pause is going to be the pause up here. Maybe we, make our way up and we chop here for a little bit of time before making the next leg up. Who knows? But it's just something to think of, look at, keep it in the back of your mind. That's pretty much all I have here today on MSTR and Bitcoin. I'll see you guys in the next one.